So as I said, we have already done 3 sessions in this series, right? We looked at why MBA, right? That was the first session. And guys, you should look at each of these sessions. Even if you have just started with this session, you should go back and look at this. Which college to go for? That was the second session. And then we looked at which test to take, right? And when we were looking at which test to take, we looked at more or less the structure of an aptitude test. कि aptitude test का मतलब क्या है? ये क्यों हम इसको aptitude test बुलाते हैं, right? And the basic things are कि aptitude test में MCQs होते हैं, multiple choice questions होते हैं, negative marking होता है अक्सर, and the number of questions are more compared to the time that you have to solve it. These are the attributes that define an aptitude test. These are the different sections that you may see in an aptitude test. ओके तो कोई कोई टेस्ट में जनरल नॉलेज होता है, कोई कोई टेस्ट में विजुअल रीजनिंग होता है, पर ऑलमोस्ट ऑल टेस्ट हैव इंग्लिश, राइट, मैथ, डेटा इंटरप्रिटेशन एंड लॉजिकल रीजनिंग, ये सब सेक्शन में होता है, सब टेस्ट में होता है, right? So we will focus, we'll look at how to start preparing for these sections, right? That is one of the things we'll do, is section wise preparation, how should that go? And the second thing we'll do is how do you break up your preparation from now, which is, end of October, beginning November, till the actual exams, till around next November, December. जब CAT तो होता है November में, पर December, Jan onwards, a lot of exams take place. So how should you really break up your preparation in this time frame? These are the two things we'll do today. So let's start off, guys, with the section that I feel is the most important. Correct? Your language, maths, logic, and DI में the most important section, guys, is language. So I keep reiterating to all students, and I want to again talk about why should we focus on the language? Why is language so important? तो एक तो हमें we all feel, correct, कि language कोई कोई section, like for example if you see CAT, language is just 1/3, 34 questions out of 100. अगर questions कम करते हैं फिर भी it will be close to 1/3. You feel कि यार नहीं, maths और logic and maths का जो arithmetic section है, right, वो DI में भी काम आता है, that is a greater, that's 2/3 that comes together. So why is language more important? So there's one basic reason why you should be good at your language, good at English, and that is the full paper. सारा paper English में है. जो आपके DI LR का जो सेट है, जो स्टेम है, जो आपके मैथ्स के 4 लाइन के क्वेश्चंस है, ये सब, the whole paper is in English. If your English is poor, then reading this, understanding DI, all that will take time. Reading math, understanding math will take time. So your whole paper slows down if your language skills are not good. On the other hand, if you're good at reading, if you're fast at understanding, then the whole thrust of your paper becomes positive. You're faster at solving all questions, not just English questions. That is one reason that you should work on your English, and that is the more important reason. The second reason why you should work on your English, guys, ASAP, you should work on your English as soon as possible, is because English takes time to pick up. You, God forbid, right, you're busy in other things, you have exams, you have some project submission, you're working and you have, some deadlines, and you're not able to start your maths by March or so. No big problem. You start your maths in March, April, you spend 3 quality months on it, and your maths can drastically, dramatically, right, improve. But 3 months, 3 quality months will not be sufficient for your language. Language ko pakadne ko, language ko samajhne ko, right? People take years to become a master in some language. So the more early you start, the earlier you start, the better. So start as soon as possible. Okay, great. So how do you work on your language? What should you do? So first thing that you need to do is read. So I know, okay, in CAT you have reading comprehension, you have para jumbles, you have para summaries, you have odd sentence out, right? Reading is just 24 questions out of 34. But all these other questions also involve reading. If you move to some other test like a SNAP or an NMAT, right, you have questions on grammar. So you say, grammar is not reading. No, reading sir, grammar will also improve. All English question types improve in the background as long as you can read. So reading is critical. Reading is step 1, it is step 2, it is all steps. If you read enough, आपको इंग्लिश के लिए और कुछ करने की जरूरत नहीं है. If you don't read enough, then you have to supplement your reading. Reading तो करना है, थोड़ा करोगे तो बाकी काम ज्यादा करना पड़ेगा, अगर ज्यादा करोगे तो और कुछ करने की जरूरत नहीं. So you need to read. Now what should you read? Okay, so it depends on what you have already read. If you have been a great reader since childhood, if you like reading, तो मेरी तो जरूरत ही नहीं है. You will read by yourself. You don't need anybody else to tell you to read. But if you don't read at all, or you have just read maybe a Chetan Bhagat, or you have just read some Chotu newspapers or an Enid Blyton when you were a child and then you have stopped reading, then you need to start your reading from scratch. Maybe look at an Agatha Christie or a P.G. Woodhouse, or pick up short stories by classical authors, जैसे साकी के short stories है, O. Henry के short stories है, right? Basically, try and ensure that the language is good. So don't look at the current authors that much, correct? It is slightly difficult to read. Slightly, not very difficult to read. Now, what makes something difficult to read? So look at the sentence length. अगर आपने ज़्यादा कुछ पढ़ाई नहीं किया है रीडिंग का, तो you should look at 7 to 8 words per sentence. If you have read enough, then you can look at around 12 words per sentence. So look at the sentence length. If you think something is too easy to read, don't read it. If you think ये कुछ समझ में ही नहीं आ रहा है, don't read. If you think if I concentrate a little bit, I can understand it. That is what you should read. Slightly difficult. Okay? If you're already reading all this a little bit, then move on to some more complicated authors, right? Perhaps you can read a John Steinbeck or a John Le Carre, right? So push yourself a little bit in reading. And finally, guys, in from March, April onwards, read articles. So stop reading fiction and start reading articles. इसका 2 फायदा होगा आपका, right? एक तो you will get used to what comes in the CAT, the language that comes in the CAT, right? CAT में fiction आता नहीं है. And second, you already get used to the topics that come in the CAT. तो अगर आपने साइकेट्री के बारे में थोड़े आर्टिकल्स पढ़े हैं, थोड़े आर्टिकल्स आपने लिटरेरी रिव्यू के पढ़े हैं, तो यू ऑलरेडी गेट अ सेंस ऑफ दीज टॉपिक्स अगर कैट में उसके ऊपर से ऑलरेडी कुछ आता है तो. सो फ्रॉम नाउ, स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम नवंबर to 5 months, end March, you can focus on fiction, you can read short stories, right? Classical authors ke. And then from March, April onwards, you can start reading articles. This is how your reading plan should be. Okay? Now, since it is only, October, you have a lot of time for your CAT. I would also advise you to build up on your vocabulary a little bit. So build up on your vocabulary means what? Don't get into big tough words. Get into some basic words that can come in your RC. So GRE word list है, वो word list आप कर सकते हैं. So focus on doing 2 to 3 pages every day, right? 3 days a week, 2 to 3 pages, right? This is reading is 15 to 20 minutes every day, like a doctor's prescription, right? ये हर दिन करना है. Word list you can do 2 to 3 pages a day, right? 3 days a week, not every day. And as I said, don't go on difficult words. अब GRE word list में कुछ 800 to 1000 वर्ड्स है, उसको थोड़ा समझ लो बिकॉज आरसी में ये वर्ड्स आते हैं, दैट्स इट, राइट. इफ यू स्टार्ट योर प्रिपरेशन इन मार्च और सो, तो मैं फिर वोकैबुलरी बिल्डिंग भी आई विल से कि दैट कम्स लेटर, दैट्स नॉट सो इम्पोर्टेंट, बट बिकॉज वी हैव टाइम and because the more we build up on these things, our communication skills go up, and our communication skills go up, that means our GDPI chances, हमारे कंपनी का जो भी इंटरव्यू होगा आफ्टर MBA, उसका chances, all these things go up, right? So great, these are the two things, and that's it. You may say, what are these two things enough? I would say yes, these two things are enough, right? March onwards, and you can start practicing with actual questions. As of right now, just do these two things: every day reading, every alternate day word list, right? And this is more than enough. Great. So this takes care of your language. Now, how about your math? So math में I would say, guys, के पहले तो focus on concepts. Don't focus on formulae. Right? Okay, for example, time, speed, distance में speed is equal to distance upon time. Don't think of this as a formula. Think of this as speed is defined per hour. Right? So if I have covered 60 kilometers in 3 hours, then per hour I have covered 20 kilometers. So this is my speed. What happens when you focus on formulas is that you have an extra step. When you read a problem, you have to think of which formula, and then you substitute in that formula. And that substitution process slows you down. But if you're focused on concepts, then it's a very smooth process. So please go through your school level maths again. Focus on concepts, don't focus on formula. ये formula आया किधर से? Always have that in your head. Right? Okay, angles in a triangle add up to 180. Why do they add up to 180? If I draw a parallel line, right? If I draw a parallel line, then this angle will have to be equal to this angle. This angle has to be equal to this angle. And this is the same angle. So ये तीनों 180 है, तो ये तीनों भी 180 होगा, right? So when you understand these things, not only is the solving more smooth, but you can look at the various ways in which a formula can be twisted to change the question. Okay? Then don't have biases. हर एक जो अपना टॉपिक है, तो मैथ्स में क्या क्या टॉपिक्स होते हैं बड़े बड़े, यू हैव नंबर्स, राइट, नंबर थ्योरी, स्क्वायर्स की प्रॉपर्टीज, राइट, प्रॉपर्टीज रिलेटेड टू नंबर्स, यू हैव अरिथमेटिक, यू हैव ज्योमेट्री, you have algebra, and you have permutations, combinations. तो ये सब के आपको बेसिक्स आने चाहिए, बेसिक कॉन्सेप्ट्स, राइट. The like for example, if I'm talking about permutations, combinations, when do I use NCR, what is NCR, how can I quickly, so if I have to solve 7C5, I don't need to really do the whole formula, right? I should know that 7C5 is 6 into 7 divided by 2. तो ये आपकी फिंगर टिप्स पे बेसिक्स होने चाहिए, क्योंकि when we are taking any paper, whether CAT, whether XAT, our job is कि जो easy basic questions है वो एक भी नहीं छोड़ना है, और ये सब के बेसिक्स हमें आएंगे. So I find a lot of students, right, telling me कि मैम यू नो बचपन से ही मेरा मैथ्स का थोड़ा you know there is a we suffer some sort of a handicap when it comes to maths. Well, that may happen maybe because you have had not the right kind of teacher, or maybe you were not just concentrating when it was important. But the way, right, all of us are physically fit enough to walk. We need to have this sort of mathematical fitness to live. School level mathematical fitness जीने के लिए जरूरी है, और ये सबके पास आ सकती है. Okay, so have basics of your on your fingertips of all these topics. Have extra focus on arithmetic. Why? Because एक तो CAT में उसका weightage बढ़ गया. Arithmetic questions in the math section now is close to 40%, guys, year on year. And secondly, arithmetic helps you do well in DI as well, data interpretation as well. So arithmetic as a section is very important. तो उस पे ध्यान दीजिए. While you are solving, anytime. First, try to solve in your head. Solve it while thinking. Then, after you solve it in your head, then you can make notes of how you solved it in your head. But avoid writing when you are solving straight away. सीधा लिखने पे तवज्जो मत दीजिए. Right? So that's how you work with maths, guys. Logic and DI, it is so vast. Sneeze not coming. So logic and DI is so vast that there is no clear guidance there on how to prepare for it. But some things that you should be good at is percentages and ratios for DI, right? So converting a fraction to a decimal to a fraction to a percentage, all that we should be able to do easily. Okay, this is something that will help your DI immensely. Comparing fractions, right? All that will help. And besides that, it has to be practice. For LR, you can look at George Summers' book. There are a lot of arrangement puzzles there. And of course, we at Unacademy give you a lot of good practice when it comes to both logic and DI. Right? We have a lot of different sets. We have a lot of different courses. Right? So practice is what makes a CAT aspirant perfect for logic and DI. Practice also ensures that you can see patterns. And patterns cannot be taught, guys. Patterns have to be seen. If Sherlock Holmes comes and teaches us कि ये सब चीजें करो, it may help a little bit, but only if we start applying, if we start practicing what has been taught to us, do we really get to know something properly. Okay? So logic and DI के लिए practice is essential. Finally, now the game plan. How will you structure your entire preparation? So starting from now, November to aa chuka hai, you should be giving 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. And focus on fundamentals. तो वो तो मैंने बोला है कि read every day, right? Do RC, not RC, your vocab building 3 days a week, right? The days you do vocab building, do maths. So maths also you're doing 3 days a week. And the remaining 2 days of the week, you focus on DI and LR practice. So this is how your week will go, correct? Make a schedule, guys. तो अगर जून तक आपको आपका कुछ कॉन्सेप्ट बराबर से खत्म करने हैं, नंबर्स करना है, अरिथमेटिक करना है, ये सब करना है, करेक्ट, ये सब क्वेश्चंस प्रैक्टिस करने हैं, तो यू नीड टू नो कि हर एक दिन आपको क्या करना है, राइट? तो मेक अ बिग शेड्यूल कि दिस इज व्हाट आई हैव टू डू इन नवंबर, दिस इज व्हाट आई नीड टू डू इन दिसंबर, जैन, फेब, मार्च, डू दैट, राइट? एंड देन विद इन नवंबर ब्रेक इट अप इनटू वीक्स कि हर वीक आपको क्या करना है, राइट? सो ये एक शेड्यूल होता है वीक में, देन यू नो कि हाँ दिस इज व्हाट आई नीड टू डू टुडे, अदरवाइज मेरा काम, अदरवाइज मेरा जो बैकलॉग है बढ़ेगा. विदाउट अ शेड्यूल देयर इज नोबडी पुशिंग यू, right? However much you may have a peer group, etc., they are going to study by themselves. You need a daily monitor, and that daily monitor can only be your schedule. So make a schedule so that you finish all your basic concepts till end of June. Then phase 2, which is from July to September, you are going to focus on revising, practicing and test taking. Now you are going to ramp up your preparation a little bit, 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, right? You will revise on areas that you feel you've forgotten. So अगर numbers आपने यहाँ पे शुरू में किया है, by the time it is July, you would have forgotten some of this, so you can go back and revise that, correct? Take section test, take full length test. Full length test till this period, July to September, guys, should not be more than 2 section full length tests. So I would say कि July, August में तो you take 1 full length test per week. And then September onwards, you start taking 2 full length tests. Take a lot of section tests where you work on improving speed, right? Whenever you take a full length test, take it fresh. ऐसा नहीं कि पूरा दिन पढ़ाई करके रात को आप एक full length test लेने को बैठे हो, right? Take it fresh in the morning or afternoon, and that is when you will get a very good idea of how you are scoring. Okay, so plan again, make a schedule. Okay, maybe every Tuesday you will take a full length test, every Thursday you will take 3 section tests, right? ऐसे करके plan your week for these 3 months also. And then October, November, the last 2 months, we will focus on, again, for 6 days a week, you can start working on, take 3 full length tests every week, every alternate day. Right? Remaining times, take section tests to improve on, again, weak areas. So once you take a full length test, guys, ensure that you are taking good feedback also of the full length test. So feedback means what? You go through your paper, you see that the questions that you got wrong, why did you get wrong? The questions that you didn't attempt, how can you attempt it? The questions that you got right, can you make your timing faster? What is the solution given, right, by in the solution booklet? Check this. तो अगर आप 2 घंटे का अगर कैट पेपर लेते हो तो फीडबैक आपका 2-3 घंटे का होगा, तो आपका एक पूरा दिन वो फुल लेंथ टेस्ट में आराम से जा सकता है, right? So this is how you need to really break up your preparation. Focus on fundamentals till June, and then from July onwards look at test taking. One final thing that I wanted to talk about, guys, is के यहाँ पे apostrophe नहीं है. This is the graph on how many test takers will be there based on time. तो अगर मैं यहाँ मान लो I put in around July of 2020, and we are looking at, CAT of 2021. So शुरू में there are come test takers. As the time towards CAT approaches, the number of test takers for the exam will approach. Around June, July, you will see that a lot of people will be enthusiastic about CAT 2021. Right? But once test taking starts, a lot of people will give up hope, right? They may feel that they are not up to it, sitting, and they will not be able to take full length test, and then your number of test takers starts declining. The point I want to make with this, guys, is I want you all to be there till the end. देखने के लिए तो आप बोलोगे कि हाँ 3 लाख लोग कैट लेते हैं, उसमें से सीरियसली कितने लेते हैं? Let me tell you guys, serious CAT takers, by the time it is November, has dropped substantially. It is less than 75,000. तो अभी आपको टॉप में परसेंटाइल में आना है इन 75,000 में. अगर आप वो 2.25 लाख जो हो बैठते हो, अगर आप उसमें घुस जाओगे तो nothing can happen. You need to ensure that you are in the top 75,000 students to do well. Right? So you have to keep up your tempo across these 3 phases. Then only you will be one of those 75,000 students. Right? So prepare properly, given your best. Just, कर्म कीजिए. आज वैसे भी it is दशहरा, right? कर्म कीजिए, फल की अपेक्षा मत कीजिए. फल खुद ब खुद आ जाएगा. So just study hard, study sincerely, diligently, regularly. Don't kill yourself. I see, I'll tell you the kind of problems that students खुद पे अपने आप पे प्रॉब्लम डालते हैं. पूरे हफ्ते कुछ 3-4 दिन कुछ भी नहीं करेंगे कैट के बारे में, फिर अचानक फ्राइडे को उठ के बोलेंगे ओ माय गॉड आई नीड टू स्टडी, और फिर 6-7 घंटे बैठ के कैट पढ़ेंगे. देन दे हेट देमसेल्व्स, दे हेट द कैट आल्सो. व्हाई? Every day put 3 hours. That's all you need to do. सुबह उठते के साथ 1-2 घंटा पढ़ाई कर लो. सुबह का टाइम कोई नहीं छीनता कभी भी. Whether it is weight loss, whether it is studying, your morning times, nobody will call you up in the morning and say कि चल यार नीचे चाय के लिए मिलते हैं. That never happens. So study 1 or 2 hours in the morning only, and then 1 hour in the evening, वो तो निकल जाएगा आपका. Ensure that you are sincerely doing 3 hours every day. You will not hate the cat, right? You will get used to it. आप किसी से भी पूछो, आपके सीनियर्स से पूछो, जो IIT में भी है उनसे पूछो. The students who study for a long period of time, but for short, right? For 3 hours. I'm not saying कि study for 9-10 hours, right? 3 hours for a long period of time आपसे हो जाएगा. You can crack it. एक तो you will be in the 75,000. That itself is such a big boost. Right? So great, guys. I hope you all enjoyed this session. अगर आपको कोई questions है about test taking or about preparation, प्लीज डोंट हेजिटेट, आस्क द क्वेश्चन, दीज क्वेश्चंस रीच मी. पहले भी मैंने बच्चों के क्वेश्चंस को आंसर किया है, आई विल आंसर दोस. इनफैक्ट गाइज, next Sunday I'm going to look at a lot of these frequently asked questions. Next Sunday मेरा काम ही क्वेश्चन का जवाब देना है. तो अगर आप अपने क्वेश्चन यहाँ पूछ लेते हो, I can incorporate that question.